You are watching William Patterson University Television.
Welcome back to the desk. The women's basketball season has ended after a tough loss versus Rowan University, but the men have made it all the way to the NJAC championship after a great underdog run. Switching back to the women for a moment, they suffered a tough loss to Rowan University. Third time they have faced, third time they were defeated. Score 67-48. Three-point shooting percentage, William Patterson did not even make a single three-pointer. It's a tough one. That's really one of the big advantages for Rowan. Even though they only shot 27%, which isn't anything crazy, but it's a lot better than 0% free throw percentage in favor of Rowan. The numbers don't lie, but as always, the most important are the points. 67 for Rowan, 48 for William Patterson. Justin, we'll start with you. What went wrong for our women?
I want to start with the three-point shooting. First things off, Ashley Castillo, one of the more consistent shooters for William Patterson, didn't even play. She wasn't even dressed. Some sort of injury. So as a whole, the team shot 0 of 12 from behind the line. And then in the second half, Rowan came out and shot a perfect 7 of 7 from behind the line and just buried us from three.
Chris Douglas, what'd you see?
In the fourth quarter, those threes is what put William Patterson behind. But throughout the entire game, in the first half, there were only 3 Pioneers that made a field goal. They were going to the free throw line and being inconsistent from the free throw line, but they were not able to get anything growing offensively, and they were not able to get any field goals in the basket. It was only Julie Revito who had 3 or 4 buckets. Outside of that, the team was nearly 0 for 20 or something like that. So it was a really bad outing offensively, and then Rowan heated up towards the end of the game. Rowan was really cold all game, too, truthfully.
Would you favor the bad outing for William Patterson to Rowan's better defense or William Patterson's lacking on offense?
Well, what kept William Patterson in the game is in the second quarter they switched to a 2-3 zone, and they were able to suppress everything that Rowan was doing offensively. It took till the fourth quarter for Rowan to figure out that 2-3 zone and get their offense going and pull away from William Patterson at that point.
Jesse, what'd you see?
You know, the thing that killed William Patterson is our last 2 games of the season seemed to be our sloppiest. We got the most turnovers. We forced most turnovers, but we also lost the ball. I believe it was 26 or 24 times the entire game. You can't play that sloppy going into the playoffs.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to be pretty clean most of the season, but most important part of the season, when you make the playoffs, you can't turn the ball over. Philip, what'd you see from the game?
Justin took the words right out of my mouth. With Ashley Castillo sitting that game, I already knew before the game happened that would be a big problem. Because not only is she one of the main offensive options for the Pioneers, she's the primary three-point scorer, and without her on the line, the three-point shooting for the team is abysmal. And clearly, it showed that game.
Philip, we'll keep it with you. Talking about the season as a whole, who's your MVP for our women's basketball team?
Well, I think it's fair to say that Julie Revito deserves that honor because not only was she the leader in points and assists, I mean, she was a leader of the team in general. Usually, however she played, she ran the offense and the team followed her. So I feel like as far as team success goes, she was the main contributor to that.
Jesse?
Just as Philip said, the team went with Julie Revito. You could even see it in the Rowan game. She had the ball in her hand every single possession. She ended up with 9 turnovers because she was trying to do so much. She's got to be the MVP. The team went with her the entire season.
Chris Douglas.
Senior leader Tori Wetzel is the team MVP for me. She averaged 13 points this year, 7.5 rebounds. She had 46 blocks on the season, almost 2 per game. The next closest on the team was 14.
Well, I agree with that because Tori Wetzel is very much a two-way player. So if you add in defense into the equation, I could see where you come up with that.
Absolutely. The rim protection, senior leadership, she's got to be my MVP.
The total package for
Absolutely.
a player.
I got to go with Tori Wetzel. Not even just her rim protector. We saw her towards the end of the season guarding point guards and using her length on the defensive side to cut off the passing lanes and really help the Pioneer defense.
Now, we wish luck to our women in next year and the seasons to come, but the men have one more game left, most likely, and that was their playoff games. They are now in the finals of the NJAC tournament where they face the Ramapo College Roadrunners, and it will definitely not be an easy task for our Pioneers. Points per game, Ramapo College averaging 80 points against our Pioneers. We're only averaging 63 points. The field goal percentage, 52% for Ramapo, 37% for our Pioneers. Free throw percentage, 70% for the Roadrunners. Great team free throwing percentage. William Patterson, not so great, almost around that 50 to 60%. And obviously the three-point percentage, William Patterson as a school, seems to always be lacking in our three-point shooting. Ramapo with a huge advantage. So, Justin, we'll start with you. Going into this game, who has to step up for our Pioneers?
It has to be Henry Voorhees. Not even on the offensive side of the ball, just on defense and his fouls. A lot of times we saw in the game against New Jersey State University, and this past one too, where in the first 3 minutes of the game, he already has 2 fouls and is taken out of the game, and he has to then run a rotation with Nazir Fields and Simeon Boubron, where even though, yes, they are good centers, it's still, he's one of the better rebounders on the team. So with him having to go in and out constantly, limits how many times the Pioneers can get either second chance rebounds or limit second chance opportunities.
Chris Douglas?
I think they'll be fine in the front court. I think the back court is where they need to really press down. They only had 4 turnovers in that semifinal game, and between Dapo Bamos and George Sapp, they take such good care of the ball. So if they can continue to do that in this game, they'll be able to get their offense going, and then everything else will fall into place from there, if you ask me.
Jesse?
When you looked at the graphic that you had shown, Roadrunners clearly outshoot us on the three-point percentage. We have a shooter who has the ability to put us back into that game, and that's Sean Smith. And he's got to get the ball into his hands, and he's got to get us into this game. Richie, we already know what we're going to get from Richie Espinal, but Sean Smith's really got to step up in this championship game.
Philip?
I mean, I feel like I talk about him all the time, but I got to say Richie Espinal. I mean, the dude is a tank on the court. In his last few games has overall been one of the better players in the NJAC conference. I mean, he obviously won a Player of the Week in the NJAC conference, and he's been the team leader for the team as they were in the playoffs in the few games previous to that. So I feel as if he's going to be the one to kind of step up, and plus it is going to be his last game as a Pioneer. So again, it's going to have a whole mental aspect to the game, and I feel like he's going to go all out and try to perform the best he's ever had.
And we'll go down the line here. Predictions. Does William Patterson pull off the Cinderella story, the number 6 seed, and win it all? Philip, yes or no?
If they show up to the court on Saturday, I got to give them a fighter's chance. I think they could pull it off.
Jesse?
With our three-point percentage and everything that's going in and the momentum we're riding, yes.
And the Pioneers by 7, 93-86.
The Pioneers in a win in a good shootout with 85-82.
Just for this side of the desk, Pioneers, if they win it, is it because of the offense or the defense? Where is their strength in this game?
It's got to go with the offense, mainly because we saw in the last game, Dominic Mignon came off the bench on fire and saved the game pretty much for the Pioneers. So the depth from the bench will help them, so it's going to have to be the offense.
Chris
Definitely
Douglas?
the offense. Taking care of the ball, getting as many opportunities as you can get. This team needs to offensively just get that three-point ball going like they've had.
Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for William Patterson Sports this week. Make sure you do not miss out on the NJAC Championship game this Saturday. Tip-off is scheduled for 3 o'clock. Up next, we switch from college to professional as the NBA crew returns.